Hey everybody, it's Miss C. So this is part 2 of our skeleton drawing tutorial. So in part 1, you saw how you got your skeleton drawn on the brown paper, and you also were shown how to shade it in the black and the white. And this particular tutorial is for our background. Now, as you can see, our background process changes year to year depending on what we want to do. If we are doing a different tutorial, then we can make a different video for the background. This year over here, they had to do geometric or organic shapes in the background. Over here, they just kind of got to splatter and do some Pollock-esque stuff. This year, we're going to be doing something based on shattering glass, and it's going to be value-based. So, you should have your brown paper with your skeleton all drawn and shaded. Forgive mine not being shaded. It's the same demo one that I was doing in our last video. Now, you want to pick to have 2 or 3 different shatter center points, almost like you've dropped your phone. So you want to find 2 or 3 shatter points. And you want those to not be overlapping your bones at all. You want those shatter points to be in areas around your bones. So looking at my pelvis, I have an area up here, I have an area down here and down here. I have these 2 small ones, but they're probably not places that are good to pick to have my shatter points because they are very small. And I have another larger open area back here around my tailbone that is in fact a hole. So I'm going to say that I'm going to have 2 shatter points. I'm going to have one kind of around here in this lobe of open area, and I'm going to have another one above my pelvis is what I think I'm going to do. So there's 2 ways to go about locating where your shatter points are going to be. First off, figure out where you want it to be and kind of make a mark, and then measure it, like physically measure it from the side. This one's about 3.5 inches-ish from the edge and about 6.5 inches from the back. So we can do it that way. 3.5 inches from the edge, somewhere around here, and about 6.5-ish from this side, which puts our shatter point here. Or if you want to go it a little bit more loosey-goosey, line up your 2 papers, put your finger where you want your shatter point, bend it back, and then put a mark where the end of your finger is. Bam, bam. There's our second shatter point. Depending on how you do it, either works. I will warn you that the second method does tend to crease your paper a little bit. So if you're trying to be extra careful about creasing, use the first method. All right, so from here I have my 2 shatter points, or 3 if you're going for 3. And the next step is to draw some lines going out. These are your little spider webbing veins. Now, whenever you're drawing these lines going out, the big temptation is make big zigzags, but they don't really look like big zigzags. They are not quite straight out, but they're not exactly big zigzags either. We're just going to kind of go out like so. We can connect one to the other just fine, and they all come into the center. Now we're going to do these ones over here. Don't think about this too hard. If you think about it really hard, then you're just going to end up with something that looks weird. Bam, like that. So this is the base of my little shatter. Nothing crazy yet. Now I got to add in some detail lines. Detail lines are basically lines that come out and have just a little bit more something, something going on. Now the trick is that you can't just have a line come out and stop. That's not good. It needs to run into something. So whenever you're adding a line out, it can do one of 3 things. It can come out and fork like this until it reaches the edge, or it can come out and rejoin a line like this, where it comes out and then rejoins and hits that line. Or if you've got another line that you've got coming across, it can come out until it hits another line out like so. Either one works. Third sort of line to add in after that, once you've got however many detail lines you want, around your shatter points, you're going to have what acts kind of like spider webbing. It's just lines that go almost in a circle. They're not quite lined up with one another. And you can have a couple different layers of this. And they, again, are kind of wobbly, this, that, the other. Nothing crazy. And again, don't think about it too hard. If you think about it too hard, you're not going to have something that looks like glass. It's just going to look like something. Last step is you're going to add line variation. Line variation is where some of your lines are really thin and some part of your lines are thicker. The easiest way to add this is to go back over a line you've already drawn a little bit sloppy. You want it mostly on top, but now it's got kind of a mirror effect, or not a mirror effect, but like a blurred effect. And anywhere where your lines came apart, you can fill in. Anywhere where they stayed together, they just stayed together. And you don't need to worry about it. And it adds just a little bit of line weight, that is line thickness, to your lines. Now, once you've done all of these steps to both of your shatter points, you've added detail lines, you've got your spider webbing, you have your lines that add thickness, that line variation, your background's gonna look a little something like this. So here's mine, and now mine is ready for paint. One thing that has been fairly consistent every year we've done backgrounds is we've had the kids paint it with acrylic. Sometimes watercolor, but mostly acrylic. And so you're gonna need a couple things for your acrylic painting. You're gonna need a prepared palette. In our students' case, we ask them to cover it with some saran wrap, so when it comes time to clean, they can just take the whole saran wrap off and throw it away. You need some brushes and a little bit of water. Note that the jar's water does not come all the way to the top. This will stop some of your spilling. As long as it spills about halfway, you're good. You need some acrylic paint, and you need to know what colors you're gonna be using. In our particular case this year, the kids are gonna be asked to have analogous colors. So this is a color wheel. Basically, you can see all the different hues of the color wheel on here, all the different hues that you can pick. Here's red, here's orange, there's yellow, green, blue, green, so on and so forth. And depending on if you've added other colors, there's some other fancy stuff that this thing tells you. But it's what you need to know is that all the colors have a specific order. Now, it could do red, red, orange, orange, yellow, orange, blah, like flip around the order, but red will always have red, orange, and red, violet next to it. That cannot be changed. Orange will always have red, orange, and yellow, orange next to it. That cannot be changed. And we'll be doing a worksheet on the color wheel a little bit more. For now, you just need to know that this has a specific order and that you're going to be asked to pick out analogous colors. Analogous colors are all in a row on the color wheel. So blue, violet through red, orange is analogous. Red, violet through orange is analogous. Violet through orange is analogous. There are a couple different groups of analogous colors that have special names, like red, orange, yellow, and these two red, orange, and yellow, orange between them. These are the warm colors. While if you flip around this way from green to violet, green, blue, blue, violet, and violet, these are the cool colors, just said named because they feel like they produce that sort of temperature. This looks like the Arctic Ocean, while this looks like dusty sand dunes, etc. But just because a analogous color set bridges that gap doesn't mean that it's not analogous. These are analogous, these are analogous, these are analogous, etc. So the analogous colors that I picked for myself today range between red and blue and hit that purple range between them, because whenever red and blue mix, you end up with purples. So it's kind of from here to here. You can kind of see it, red, red, violet, violet, blue, violet, blue. But I'm also going to grab myself a little bit of white because I'm needing to make some variety of colors here. Now, I can have, each one of these little sections in here is going to be a small gradient between colors. It can be between a color and white, two of these colors together, multiple of these colors for some of these really big areas probably. And here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take some of my white, I'm gonna put it down in one of my little bins. Note that I am not getting very much paint because most of the time you really can't. And in fact, one of the things that I encourage you to do if you are doing this in a classroom setting is to only get 2 or 3, maybe, no, 3 colors. Get 3 colors. Any class period, get 3. Use those in as many places as you can before you need to move on. Because a good chunk of the time, that's as many as you can get through in a class period. And not all teachers have the ability to save paint from day to day. I know in my classes, at least for my Art 1s, which are the ones doing this project, we do not have the ability for you to save your paint every day. All right, so all of this extra space on my palette can be used to mix. And I'm gonna do that beforehand so that I have an easier time of things. So I'm gonna mix some white with some of my pink over here and make a lighter pink. I'm gonna take some of my pink over here and add some purple to it, make a color between those two. And now I have about 5 colors that can make some of these go. Now I'm gonna clean off my brush because I'm gonna be starting with some white here. I'm also gonna squeeze out some of that extra water because that will just make all of this get really funky. And now I'm gonna pick a section to start in. It really doesn't matter which. So I'm gonna come in here and say that I'm gonna start in this small section here. I'm gonna paint my white up close to the top. You can kind of see some of my pink getting in there a little bit because I didn't quite clean it really well. Now I'm gonna get my light pink. I'm gonna kind of start layering that in. And I'm trying to work quickly. I'm gonna come in with my stronger pink. Get all the way to the edge of that section. And the reason I'm working quickly is because now that I've done that, I can come in and kind of start blending them together. Now this is pretty thin paint, so some of my paint's getting a little bit watery, which I don't appreciate a lot, but hopefully you can do a little bit better of a better job. But I've got a gradient now from a white to a darkish pink. From there, I can move on to another area. I do not want to move on to an area directly next to the one I've been working on because once those two wet areas are next to one another, you can get some blurring. So I'm gonna move over a little bit. I'm gonna start on a different section. This one I'm gonna start in pink. I'm gonna get my pink purple mix and go in between. And I'm gonna get my straight purple and put that on the end. The trick to making this look good is to make sure that whenever you are making these mixes of colors, that you have one side that is much lighter and one side that is much darker. Try not to have your areas all stick to one value. So for example, on my purple, if I were mixing purple and blue, I would want to be using my purple and my light blue because one is lighter and one is darker. If I did my purple and my dark blue, there's not much difference in those colors and that's going to be really hard to see. But I could try doing my pink and my blue and see what that ends up with. I could do my dark blue and my white. I could even do my white and my medium blue. Both of those, or all of those, have strong contrast, which will end up looking nice on my paper. Now, as I'm going through, these are really, really thin, which means that more than likely I'm gonna have to let these dry and do another coat on top, just to make sure that they're actually gonna be thick enough to really see. But once I'm all done and everything is completely filled in edge to edge, pick the appropriate paintbrush size, by the way. That tiny little paintbrush that I've been using, this one, if I tried to use that to fill in this massive area, that's gonna take me a million years. But if I use this one, it's gonna be a lot faster. Use the appropriate paintbrush size and just go through and get all of your sections filled one by one, piece by piece. And I can continue using these same three colors at various points all throughout of here without any worry. As for which direction your light value should be, both of these, you'll notice that my light value is in towards my shatter point. That doesn't matter. That's just something that I did on accident. I could have my darker edge over here and my lighter edge over here. I could have my dark edge here, my light edge here. I could have my light edge to my dark edge or vice versa, etc., and have this one be dark to light and this one light to dark. It doesn't matter. As long as you're getting all the way into your edge, because one of the very, very last things we're gonna do is we're probably gonna take either a Sharpie or a very thin paint marker and we're gonna go back over all of our lines so that they're strong and bright again. To finish off our whole shattered background. Anyway, you have the rest of the period to work on this. Get busy.